This is Kimberly Jones, President of the Council for Opportunity and Education, and I am so thrilled to be joined by Cornelius Griggs. Now, who is Cornelius Griggs? Well, he is the founder and president of GMA Construction Group based in Chicago with offices in Texas and in New York. He has his master's of industrial technology and operations from Illinois Institute of Technology, as well as a master's of science in executive management for design and construction from Northwestern, and his bachelor's of science in computer science and computer justice from Chicago State University. He is a 2013 National Trio Achiever, having participated in both Talent Search and the Ronald McNair Post-Baccalaureate Achievement Program. And in 2014, he testified about the importance of Trio before the U.S. Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. Mr. Griggs is one of 6 children, the eldest. He actually grew up as a ward of the state, and I was critical to his story and becoming who he is today. And he's also an honorable veteran, having served during Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. So how are you, Cornelius?
I'm doing amazing. How are you, Kim?
I am fantastic. And I like to start off most of these conversations with the same question. What is your Trio story? How did you become part of Trio?
Well, I mean, my first introduction to Trio was in high school, and through an organization called Introspect Youth Services, which was ran by and still ran by to this day, Bernard Clay,
Right,
on
Mr.
the west side
Clay.
of Chicago. It's easy to say where I'm at today, and but when people understand how you got there, that's really the story. And the question that they asked me was, where did I plan on going to college? And it was the first time that anybody had ever had a conversation with me. And I was 16 years old at this time. I was a junior. That anyone had a conversation with me about going to college. Most of my friends and I were just trying to stay alive to make it to see 18. Mr. Clay was, like a beacon of shining light. I was a neighborhood guy. I was a street kid. I that's where I grew up. That's where I spent the bulk of my time. And there was just something inside of me that told him, that he saw inside of me, that told him that I could be more than what the environment that I was living in. The program was called Talent Search. It really opened my eyes, and then of course moved over into Upward Bound. But it really opened my eyes to what the opportunities were out there. Okay, I could be more than what I see every day when I go home. And Mr. Clay just seemed to always be there at the right time to kind of wrap his arms around me and pull me back in. And because he cared more about me than I did, once I got there, I decided I'm going to give this 120%.
So that leads me right into my next question, which is, your journey from your neighborhood all the way to where you are today is amazing. What are some of the key lessons that you learned, through your time coming up in Trio and even, college that you apply today in your work as a businessman?
I grew up in the neighborhoods. The work that we do at my firm is, focuses on affordable housing, healthcare, and education in underserved communities, because those are the things that lacked in every community I grew up in. I grew up as a ward of the state. My mother gave me up when I was 8 years old. I was homeless for a period of time. Then I moved into foster care homes. I lived in 6 different foster care homes. But all of those experiences that I had at that time as a ward of the state, all the way up until I started going to college, all of those experiences I now bundle, and I take the resilience of those experiences into the boardroom with me today. If I was resilient enough to make it through those situations,
Right.
then the challenges of business are fairly easy to solve when you put things into perspective. When I show up on the 23rd of Christmas with a truckload of toys and give them away to young kids who look like me, it's a much different experience.
Let me
Yes.
ask you this, and this is not part of the pre-planned questions, but have you also been able to have a pipeline for perhaps young people who are like yourself, who maybe want to someday go into construction management through internships or other things?
So after I got my master's degree, started writing this program. Eventually, we would get the program incorporated into Kennedy King College. it created a pipeline
Mm-hmm.
of minority students who went through that program, graduated from that program, and have matriculated out into the workforce.
You were not too proud to go back and ask for advice. You said, I thought I wanted to do law school. I'm thinking about doing this instead. And that turned into another opportunity. I mean, I'm
Yes.
sure you didn't know that they were going to offer to send you to school. I mean,
No.
that's amazing. But then also paying it forward by creating the curriculum at Kennedy King and running the program and seeing the fruits of that. So that is awesome. And that's what we're about in Trio. I love that. Um, you've mentioned a couple times different people who've been mentors in your life. Can you talk a little bit more about how your own experience with mentorship has influenced the way you approach developing others?
I often call them, my guardian angels. They just met me one day and then decided that they were going to help me, right, or open up a door that may have been closed for me. He opened up that door for me during a time that the world seemed dark and I didn't know where I was going to go. So I owe Mr. Clay, a ton. Throughout my time in the foster care system, I never really wanted to be a burden to any family that I wound up being placed with, because I often thought if I come in and I'm a help to that family, they keep me longer. Although I came from a different place, I was just the same as them, right? They were no better than me, and it helped me build my confidence, right? So that I could go out and be able to do the same job that they were doing, regardless of where we all received our education or regardless of the households that we grew up in. We all had to show up on that Monday morning. We all had to execute the same task. And it was all about who was going to put their all into it. And what I learned, as my grandfather used to tell me, I take anyone with AQ over IQ any day. And he used to call it ambition quota. He said,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
you don't have to be the smartest person in your room, but you definitely have to be the hardest working person in the
That's something very deep to say to an 8-year-old about AQ versus IQ. Um,
room.
and I've heard it said, your inheritance isn't always monetary things. Your inheritance is what, your elders pour into you to take with you for
Yes.
the rest of your life. So that is really beautiful about your grandfather. And what I'm thinking about, so when you found yourself, first of all, just at this restaurant, going up to this partner at this major construction firm, coming to DC, being in the room, did you ever deal with imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you overcome that?
But I didn't have the base for that. There was like that. There's a whole part of the world that doesn't even have a base to be able to think that that's possible. I was a first generation college student, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I had accomplished a lot just by
Right.
stepping foot on the college campus. No one in my immediate family, at least on my mother's side, on my grandmother's side of the family, had ever done it. When I would pull up, they say, "There goes Cornelius, man. He's in college." I was a hero to my younger siblings. But when I got into the larger world, they tried to make me feel small. I then knew I belong here. I belong here. I got here, I earned it because I worked hard for it. The path I took was the path that was built for me. It was the card that God dealt me, the hand that He dealt me. And I think I played it really well.
Success begets success. What advice would you give to current TRIO students to encourage them on their journey?
AQ over IQ. And I say this all the time. When I started, I had 3 employees and we did $1 million in revenue. Now I have over 85 employees. We do over $200 million in revenue in 7 different states. That doesn't happen because I'm an imposter. So when you're a first generation college student, who else in your family can you talk to about college? Stay ambitious. Be the hardest working person in every circle that you're in. Always know what you don't know and know how to go find that information. That's really what makes you an intelligent person.
That is awesome. And I think that's the perfect note to conclude our conversation on. So thank you so much, Cornelius, for making time out of your busy schedule. And I hope we go viral because these are some real gems that I think our students and our practitioners will find encouraging on their journeys. So with that, we say thank you.
Thank you.